posing the same question to Gaurav, when was the time that you put, this aesthetics versus economics is something which you had to deal with?
So, this was in the initial days when I started my practice, I would put it up this way that, your office also have some economics, internally. So, this client comes to us and he says that, we want to do the residence design and, with all the enthusiasm in the initial days, we did this design and everything and he really liked the design. So next day morning he says that, अपन इसमें ये भी add कर देते हैं, So the moment he says ये भी add कर देते हैं, there's the whole matrix has to be reworked. That means now you have to put in a lot of energy and effort to really, to cater to this new design brief basically. So now you're again 4 days are gone. Now, when you give the presentation on the 4th day, there is again some demand that pops up, So, what I'm trying to say is that, economic part is not only on the project front, but, it is on your office front as well. So, it is really important to balance both the things, and yet you have to give something which is very aesthetic, value for money, and something which is really desired by the client. So it has to be between all these, lines.
Yeah, so that's a very important perspective that you got into. Shamini, please.
Them in the process. And as Amit says, of course, being transparent. I'm not saying clients are not conscious of what they're spending. They definitely are. But I think, you take them around full circle and they come back to what you have proposed largely, at least in my case.
When we get into the design process, we spend a lot of time with the client on the initial, discussions and designs and references. That is where, you understand what is really required by the client in the whole space where, he wants to spend, where he doesn't want to spend, and then we kind of average it out. And then, we come to a common consensus on the table that, this is the kind of amount that we're going to spend on the project. And when we both are comfortable on that and client agrees on it and we agree on it, that's where, we take the thing forward.
But I've never been able to understand the infatuation with catalog specifications. So what exists in a catalog has a price and a number to it, and you're specifying that product to a project, to a client, which is going to be maybe 1 in thousands, 1 in 10,000s. So the installation, what is he paying you for is not curation of catalog products, but I think he's paying you to use your mind to introduce him to some bespoke methodology of using materials which might not cost you the same.
So, one fine evening, a senior from my school called me up and said, he was to meet me. So he dropped into the office the very next day and said, I've got some piece of land near Jaipur and this was the ancestral land which came to his part, So he wanted to do something in this land, but then he was very clear that I don't have budget, So he told me a very little figure, and that was the figure in which he couldn't do the project. So he said, Bhaiya, let us go to the site once and let's see and, let's explore what, things we can do. So, we went to the site, stayed there, there was like 2 rooms were there, so we stayed there and, we explored certain things. So we found a very old contractor there and, we had a talk with him and, he agreed to take the, payment installments, So we figured out one part, that he would be able to help us, Then, we figured out somebody, from our, contacts that he was ready to fund the building material and, we could pay him later. So now, we could manage all that, but then we were so cautious about every inch of space that, we were totally out of budget. So, we did the project so cautiously that, it's very close to my heart and is doing good. It's a resort somewhere around Siriska.
So I'll interrupt you. Cardinals in as far as moderators are concerned, but I would want to know what is that one thing that you did because of that budgetary constraint which you would not have done otherwise.
So we were very particular in terms of selecting the material. That was one. We picked up very local material.
Give an example.
So we wanted to do some wall in stone, for example. Now we picked up the stones which were nearby, and they were not looking very nice aesthetically. But then we did a dummy wall of about 3 feet, and we realized that the whole panel of this is going to look very nice. So no transportation cost. The mine was nearby. The mason who was working was very conversant with the stone, so he could turn around, make the edges, and do everything at a very, very nominal cost for us. So ultimately, the whole project came up very well and in a budget. So that was a good experience.
5 लोगों के साथ मैं सिर्फ तुमसे ऐसे बात कर सकता हूँ.